I'm gonna sync this. Who labbed you, by the way?
Sound guy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you mind if you kind of tuck this, maybe tape the cable in a little bit?
Yeah, John. Why don't you feed it from the bottom up?
Got it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah. And
I know we're kind of double labbing.
Yeah, I know. Let's try that.
Will this work?
Let's try that.
Should work. May not be the cleanest, but it'll be fine. It'll sound good though.
As far as you can put that in your pocket.
Cool.
I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I'm gonna get a little clap in front of you.
Cool.
And that'll sync it. Appreciate it.
Sounds good, man. Thank you. All right. Sounds good. Cool. It's 30 minutes, right?
And I think I'm finally
You cool if I start now? Yeah? Cool. Alright. Hello everyone. Hey guys. How we doing? Hi everyone. Hi. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by the presentation. I really appreciate it. My name is John Ortiz. I'm the technology sales manager for MediaRec. So today I'm going to talk about something that you guys have probably already heard a lot about at this conference and maybe previous conferences. We're going to talk about generative AI and specifically about how you can use Gen AI in quality assurance. So again, really appreciate you guys all stopping by. So just a quick agenda. We'll do an introduction. I already did that. We'll talk about the need for evolution in QA, Gen AI in QA, and then I'll go over some other Gen AI use cases in the contact center, and then we'll talk about some ROIs, and then I'll open it up for Q&A. So I'll kind of fly through this really quickly. So when I'm talking about QA, just to make sure we're all on the same page, I'm referring to the process of a human evaluator listening to and manually scoring calls, right? For the purpose of ensuring compliance, making sure agents are following call scripts and things of that nature. Right, so I'll say if your contact center is doing at least some sort of QA, I mean, it's definitely a start, right? It's better than not having anything. But there's definitely a need for evolution in QA, right? There's a lot of limitations with regard to it. So number one being limited visibility, right? I mean, if you're doing QA, you can usually only get to at least between 1 to 5% of your calls. Right, so a lot of blind spots there. Another one is it's tedious and time consuming. I used to be a QA analyst actually, and it would take me anywhere from like 30 minutes to an hour to do every single call for one call, right? So it takes a while. Another thing is, with manual QA, it has low agent engagement and there's some subjectivity problems, right? Like, what I mean by low agent engagement is like, they essentially see QA as almost like a form of punishment, right? I mean, anytime you get like a QA assessment, it's, you didn't do this right, you didn't do that right. So, and subjectivity, that just comes with any type of like human involved process, right? Like you might have a human who favors one agent over another, and that can lead to some decreased morale with the agents. And last thing is just the data underutilization, right? Because if you're only analyzing 1% of your calls, you don't really know what's going on with all the other ones, right? So you're missing a lot of insight. So just the impact of these challenges, and number one is lack of certainty. And what I mean by that one is, if you're, again, only evaluating 1% of your calls, on 99% of your calls, you literally cannot say with any level of certainty that your agents are doing things like reading call scripts, reading compliance disclosures, capitalizing on upsell or cross-sell opportunities, right? So you really don't know, right? Another one, tedious and time-consuming, leads to inefficiencies and delays, right? And also it's expensive, right, to pay a QA team to analyze calls. So I would say it's, you're paying these QA teams to analyze, and you're getting really little reward in return, right? Because you're, again, only 1% of your calls. One thing that comes from low agent engagement and subjectivity is can lead to decreased morale and decreased performance, right, for sure. And again, data underutilization, you're forfeiting any strategic opportunities, right? You're only looking at a little sample size, right? So, all of this stuff kind of leads to bigger problems, right? Like, if you're having a staff of agents that aren't really well trained, and you're not making sure they're doing the right things, it's going to lead to poor CX, which leads to lower customer satisfaction, and ultimately lower revenue, right? And on the flip side too, like if your agents aren't performing well, you're going to have to get rid of them, or they'll probably just quit on their own, right? Because no one wants to stay at a job where they're not doing well, right? And we all know how expensive turnover is, right? So that leads to higher costs, and if you have higher costs and lower revenue, you're going to have lower profitability, right? So there's definitely, again, just a need for evolution in QA, and that's why we're excited now that generative AI is around. It can help you with analyzing all of your calls. So with Gen AI, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you kind of how we've incorporated it into our platform. And, I'm sure there's a lot of other kind of vendors that are doing something similar, but just so you can kind of have a general idea of how you can use it and what you can do. But with Gen AI, AQM, I mean, you can automatically evaluate and score calls, right? I mean, that's number one thing. Number two is, because the Gen AI, it understands the context of conversations, right? So because of that, it can provide really, really high accuracy with regard to the results of the QA scores, right? Another thing too, again, 100% visibility, right? So that the lack of certainty goes away. You know now that what your agents are doing and what they're not doing. All right. Eliminate subjectivity, right? So that's another one. And of course, consistent QA assessments, right? So instead of a human evaluator doing it, they might do it different every time. You have everything happening the same every single time, right? And higher agent engagement, right? I mean, now that the agents are having all their calls reviewed, not only are they getting their QA scores like when they've done a poor job, but they'll see all their scores when they did a great job, right? So it's just a more, I guess, engaging process for the agents to have all of your calls evaluated. Right? And Gen AI provides really significant ROI. I'll touch on that a little bit more later, but these are just some of the benefits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of walk you through like how we leverage generative AI in the QA process, right? So you can kind of get an idea for how to do it. But number one is you need to build your scorecard, right? I mean, I'm sure all of you, if you have a QA department, you have a different scorecard or scorecards, right? So the first thing that you want to do if you're using our platform is build out your scorecard, and it's super easy to do because all you need to do is literally type out the questions that you want to evaluate the agents on, right? And then you assign some points to them, right? So some examples are like, did the agent greet the customer? Did they get their zip code? Whatever your QA kind of criteria is, you build that within the interface, which is super easy to do. After that, what you want to do is you want to create an auto scoring job. So the reason why I wanted to bring this up is, essentially what you're doing is you're telling the AI which calls you want it to evaluate, right? So if you want your scorecard to evaluate all your calls, you can do that. Or if you want one QA scorecard to evaluate only particular calls, you can do that as well. So for example, like say you have a customer service department and you have a customer service scorecard. You can have that scorecard run against the customer service calls. You have a sales department and a sales scorecard, run that scorecard against those calls. Right, so you're basically running things conditionally based on the criteria. Like example here is, we're using this scorecard to evaluate our claims and warranty operations for calls that are longer than 5 minutes. Right, so you can get really granular with how you want to evaluate the calls. Is the point I guess I'm trying to make. Now after that, you want to review the results, right? I mean, once your scorecard's created and they're evaluating, you'll get some results. So just so we're aware, like the first thing that we do with Neo Records, we transcribe the calls, right? So the scoring of all these, the QA scores rather, it's based off the transcript and the questions that you make in your scorecard, right? So the AI is searching the transcript to see if the criteria for these questions has been met. So like, did the agent greet the caller? Did they say their own name, right? All of those questions are being answered automatically by AI.